my message is probably different from yours.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been telling guys that recently, when you meet a woman, and I'm talking about age 30, 35 and onwards,
Mm-hmm.
chances are everything you're going to do for her, she has met a guy who did the same exact things for her.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Or
she met
less.
a guy who's richer than you.
Or
She met a
less.
guy who's taller than you.
Mm-hmm.
So ask yourself, how come she couldn't keep those guys? And what makes you think she's going to keep you? Like, what do you think are you going to give her $100 million? You think that finally she's going to want you? Ask yourself, if this woman has been dating for 20 years,
Mm.
and she couldn't find one good guy, and you think you're going to be the Prince Charming? And
Yeah.
then I hate when they keep asking God to send them a good guy. And I'm like, do you think God is dumb? God is just going to keep sending you good guys. You misuse them, you dump them, and he's just going to, he has a store for you of good guys. He's going to keep sending you. Like,
Yeah.
if I was God, I wouldn't keep sending you good men either. Like, that
I'm
doesn't
gonna be
make any sense.
It's cool. You know what's crazy? First of all, I don't think it's God sending them these guys to begin with. And number two, why would God in that season of your life when you kept picking those types of men that weren't good, why would God be sending you the good men if you keep wanting the men that aren't? If your track record is that you're picking a-holes and bums and dudes that aren't good guys, and then you have to wait till you go through that transitional period of time. And we know that the end of a 304 life is a woman, a guy. That's the time when you decide, all right, now it's time for me to be a good woman. And now I think I'm ready to be a good guy. You didn't want the good guy. You didn't want the nice guy. So the reality is like you didn't deserve it because that's clearly not what you wanted. And a lot of you didn't want that. Especially during the time period where all the men that you ignored that were that you ignored. Like if you're putting them in their friend zone, that means they're good enough to be your friend and they're good enough for you to have some type of platonic relationship with. But they weren't good enough for you to be attracted to or start and establish a family with. Those were your good guys. Those are your good guys. Because these ain't guys that you just say, oh, I decline and you don't talk with them no more. You see value in how he treats you, but you only see the value from a friendship. He's not attractive enough. He doesn't tap into certain emotions. He doesn't excite you. So now the good guy is over here in the cut. The guys that excite you, you keep picking them. So what I'm saying is I'm not saying that women want to be mistreated. I think they want to ignore the good guys, pick the guy that's rough around the edges or has certain issues and try to change him into becoming a good guy. That's what I actually think is happening. But the problem is women, y'all can't change men. And again, a man would have told you that. But you're basing these major life decisions in terms of your womb, your emotions, your body, your mental emotional health, primarily off of vibes, feelings, and astrology. And what time of the month you was born and whether he a Virgo or a Leo or this or that. That's what you basing major life decisions on. So I'm like, y'all don't really want a good guy. You want a guy that's questionable at best, if not a bad guy, and you want him to be good for you. Like you clearly don't want good guys because y'all all got male friends. Y'all all got good guys, and they stay friends for a reason because you don't actually want them.
I mean, it's crazy to me. Like, single by choice, and women like to say, I'm single by choice.
Mm-mm.
But, and then when you ask them, what kind of man do you want? Tall, rich, this and this. And you're like, okay, if you're single by choice, if God gave you that the kind of man you want right now, would you take him? They're like, yeah, I would take him. So clearly you're not single by choice. You're single because the type of man you want doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want you, because they always focus on, I want men to do this and this and this. But even if you meet the good guy, what makes you
Mm-hmm.
think he's gonna want you back? And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I think this comes from, if they didn't teach you how to date. Because
Yeah.
personally, I believe relationships are a skill. The same way and you've talked about this on different shows. I
Yeah.
remember you, word for word, you said they invest so much time, the same time they invest in getting degrees, in getting the skills to get a job, they could at least invest half the time in gaining relationship skills, half the time in listening to men, half the time in looking in the mirror, half the time realizing that, okay, I have such a long list of expectations for men, but
Mhm.
chances are they have expectations for me. The
Yeah.
only issue is, obviously, for the most part, men don't speak up. Men don't have as many choices as options, which is really going to segment into the next question I had for you.
Mhm.
We live in a time of single moms. But Jeff, honestly, the
Mhm.
chances are, if a man is 30 plus, the chances are he's going to run into a single mom. Should men just really give up and date single moms, since sounds like that's the majority? Should men just, because there are three types of men, in my opinion. There's a type, and I think I have someone in the chat, King Breeze. King Breeze just
Mhm.
literally talked about it. Should men just give up? There's a type of men who are giving up on dating and relationships.
Mhm.
There's a type that has hope. They're hoping if Jeff talks to the ladies, they will understand. They're hoping if she gets 45, she will be old and less options. Maybe she'll give me a chance. There's that type of man. And obviously, there's a type of man who, getting on the plane,
Mhm.
trying different countries, different cultures.
Mhm.
So, should men really just go for the single moms? Like, at this point, what should men do?
Oh yeah, and I hope in September I'm going to try to. I have it on the list. I have an episode that's going to be coming up in September about the pros and cons of dating single mothers, and if it's a good deal or bad deal. And I won't spoil it too much, but I will say is it's tough because obviously it comes with some risk, right? It comes with the risk of getting attached to children that are not biologically yours. And if the relationship doesn't work, you have no rights. Number two, having to deal with the consequences of entering a situation where the child may not see you or ever see you as their parent or as their father. Number three, by default, especially from early on from the beginning, the most important person to her when she's first interacting and dealing with you, even when you first get in that relationship, is not you. It'll be her child. So these are just natural dynamics that men who are going to do it are going to have to acknowledge there's this really strong possibility. On top of that, you have to factor in what happens if you are given the ability to sign over custody or sign up for custody and actually take these kids as your own, and then the relationship doesn't work. You signed up to be with a woman and took on the custody of those children, and then the relationship don't work, and now you're paying child support for a child that was not even biologically yours. So not to mention if the father is still here and present and he has a role to play, and another man gets to dictate when and how often you get to see your significant other and the kids, and it's a lot of things that kind of comes with that you do have to factor in.